really interesting study that you've undertaken or had people undertake for you, and there were some interesting findings there. Can you explain to us what those three top line findings were?
I think the first thing would probably be that the impact on the lower income segments, being at 4% of their earnings, that's a sizable amount of somebody's monthly earnings. I think also interesting to see the proportion that the personal amount of the cost of cash is as a proportion of the total cost. So the consumer cost is about 52 basis points of GDP, which is about 1/3 of what we see as the total cost of cash, which is about 1.5% of GDP in South Africa.
So the biggest loser in all of this then, who is that? Who's that character? What does that profile look like?
So the biggest loser is the poor, and that's why financial inclusion in South Africa is so important. We've done a relatively good job. We're up to around 79–80% based on the FinScope study now. So that's a good way to be on. In terms of cash versus electronic, at a global level, we're at about 85% cash transaction value. In South Africa, we're around 52% cash transaction value.
On the technology front, why is it that places like Kenya, for example, have gone their route and sort of leapfrogged over banking and the mainstream channels there? And why is that not happening in South Africa, or is it happening here?
The opportunity is to use technology to get out into those rural areas. And so what do I mean by that? Well, we can actually deploy things like QR codes, which will allow for acceptance by merchants to accept payments. And simply on the face of this piece of paper, having a QR code